We're in the process of converting our coach bus into an RV. As we've been sharing our story, we've been asked a lot of the same questions again and again by other people who are interested in converting coaches or school buses.
We did a lot of research trying to figure out which bus would be right for us, and so many factors for us to figure out how to get it legally turned into an RV from a commercial vehicle, that we thought we'd share our thought process and some of the things we learned through that journey.
In this video, we're going to share with you the pros and cons that we learned between school buses and coach buses, how to get your bus legal,
and important things that we learned about driving a bus of this size, and what advice we would give on a plan for demolition if you were buying a bus. When we originally looked for buses, we were looking at school buses.
We researched some differences between the short bus and the full-size bus. A short bus is around 20 feet, whereas a full-size bus is around 35 to even 40 feet long. There's some pros and some cons on each side. A short bus is great because it's smaller and you can probably go pretty much anywhere that a van or a car could go. So it really opens up your options of where you can camp and park your bus.
You think you can fix that engine?
Can I fix it?
Yep.
Hell no. What kind of a question is that? Most short buses that we looked at had gas engines. So the pro of that is that a lot of mechanics will be able to work on it. The con is that a gas engine has a shorter life than a diesel engine. While the short bus is easier to get around in, we really wanted more space that a full-size bus would offer. We wanted to have a full kitchen, a full bath, a Pilates studio, and a little recording studio for Don in the bus too. Plus we have 3 cats. So we couldn't really do all of that in a short bus. While it had some pros to it, it wasn't really going to work for us. A big consideration too is what you feel comfortable driving. So Don feels comfortable driving a 40-foot bus, so we decided to scrap the short bus from our list. We researched Skoolies and we found that the most commonly converted Skoolies were either Bluebird or Thomas bolts. The reason being is that they have reliable engines and a solid frame that is suitable for modifications, like doing a roof raise to give you more height.
It wasn't until we did a little more investigating that we started realizing we could get a coach bus. A coach bus is built for long distance touring, sometimes driving across the country, and although some school buses are very sturdy and can go really long ways, sometimes those engines aren't as powerful and you might have trouble going up big steep hills. Another huge consideration is under the bus storage or luggage bays. In our bus, these are gigantic. I've seen people put their entire kid's bedroom in some of these, and we've got 3 pretty big ones in our bus. When we looked at school buses versus coaches and saw just how much space we had in these luggage bays, we decided the coach was right for us. Now there are some school buses that do have under storage bays. Those are usually like a crew bus or a sports bus. Even those buses only have 1 or 2 smaller bays, so comparatively to our coach, that's not a lot of room. It's also a big consideration when you got to factor in where your water tanks are going to go, where your batteries are going to go. For us, being able to put those down here underneath and not take up valuable real estate, hiding it under furniture was a pretty big point.
Another factor to consider is the cost difference between school buses and coach buses. So looking at buses that are 10 to 20 years old, a school bus is going to go from anywhere from about $1,500 to $10,000, whereas a coach bus is going to range from between about $10,000 to $20,000.
Other big factor is height. And with our coach bus, we had plenty of ceiling height already for us. A lot of school buses People will buy them and then cut and raise the roof up. That was something we did not want to do. So finding a bus with as much clearance and height in it like ours was a priority.
For our bus conversion, we bought a 1996 MCI D3 40-foot bus.
This was originally a 51-seat passenger bus, and it has giant luggage bays throughout, 3 systems in the bottom, as well as a super strong Detroit diesel 60 engine, which we've had no problems going up and down mountains with. Another big consideration for us was the engine for our bus. In a lot of school buses, you have 3 options: an engine that goes in the rear of the bus, an engine in the front of the bus, or what they call a dog nose. A lot of people have written about front engines giving off a lot of noise and heat right around the driver's area, so we wanted to avoid that if we were going to get a school bus. And a dog nose bus, I think it's pretty easy to work on because it's out there in the front like a regular car's motor, but that does diminish the amount of floor space you'll have in your overall bus. One of the reasons we chose this bus is because it has a Detroit diesel 60 motor on it, and every mechanic that we called and talked to about buses for the year before we bought our bus told us that it was an extremely reliable engine. Not only were the parts available, but that almost all diesel mechanics and anybody who's worked in the military for the last 15-20 years has worked on this engine.
Home sweet home. When we decided that we wanted to get a coach bus rather than a Skoolie, we started looking at the differences between vintage models and more modern coaches. We really like the look of the old Greyhound vintage buses. The engines are really easy to work on. The problem is that it can be difficult to find parts. Whereas in a modern coach, it's easy to find parts, and as Don discussed earlier, it is fairly easy to find mechanics to work on it.
Another question that we get asked quite a bit is how we got our bus converted from a commercial vehicle to a recreational vehicle in the state of California. The state of California has some guidelines as to what they will consider a quote-unquote house car. That's the title you want to get for your bus as a recreational vehicle or MH motorhome. In order to qualify to get a commercial title transferred to a recreational vehicle title, you need to have 4 of the following things: a refrigerator or icebox, some kind of a cooking stove system, a toilet, heating and or air conditioning, portable water, and a separate electrical power supply or LP gas setup. The process would normally be you convert your bus, you go to the DMV or to the local police station, and they would fill out paperwork that shows that you've been approved by someone official that you now have a RV/motorhome/house car. Another great way to do it in California is to hire an independent agent, a VIN verifier. They can come out to meet you, look over your bus, and fill out a piece of paperwork that will act as a legal document the DMV now accepts. It says your bus is now converted to a motorhome. Now, it was a very complicated thing to wrap our head around because when we first bought our bus, we couldn't drive it until technically the title was transferred to be a RV. But we couldn't transfer the title to be an RV until we drove it somewhere and converted it. That's why having an independent agent like a VIN verifier that could meet you somewhere, anywhere on your property or at the place where you pick it up or buy your bus to sign off on paperwork that says you're qualified to be a motorhome could make the process go a lot smoother for you. Now, in the end, I got all my VIN verification stuff together. I went to the DMV and they didn't know what I was talking about. I had to go the next day to 2 more DMVs and talk to 6 or 7 different people until I found someone who was actually able to help me get the title transferred to an RV. There's some other options there we had as backups, and if you're looking for a solution because your state has some stringent rules, you can register your vehicle in another state. One of the most lenient states that allows this is the state of Vermont. The state of Vermont will let you fill out paperwork for your vehicle, no matter which state you live in, mail it to them with the correct fee, and they will process and send you a title for an RV with your new plates. Doesn't matter what residency you have in the US, last we understood is still doing this. Now, I'll include a link over to a forum post that'll give you all the information and help walk you through that if that's an option you need to explore. Now, a note here that we have not done that. We were able to transfer our title in California, so we don't have direct experience with Vermont registrations.
Insurance can be another tricky thing. The best advice we can give you is to just call around to your local insurance agents and ask them. The rules change all the time depending on what kind of bus you have, which state you're in, and which insurance company it is.
One of the most frequent questions I'm asked is, do I need a special license to drive the bus? And the answer is, it depends. And it depends on which state your bus is registered in. In the places we've had our bus registered, we do not need a special license to drive it. There are 3 or 4 states, I believe, that would require a non-commercial Class B driver's license to drive this bus because of the bus's weight or because it has 3 axles. However, with our title and registration, it does not matter in that state. Now, with that in mind, though, I do highly recommend that anybody who's going to drive a 40-foot bus for the first time spend some time learning about what you would need to do for a commercial driver's license. I watched 2 or 3 videos over and over. They were basically study guides for the CDL, a commercial driver's license. Those study guides cover safety, pre-driving checklists, and we even made our own checklist so that we could go over it step by step every time before we drove the bus. Driving the bus cross-country for our first real drive, I was a little anxious, but it didn't take very long for me to be comfortable. Before we left on our trip, I put a backup camera at the very back of the bus so that I'd be able to see if there was anything in our way. It was helpful on a couple occasions when I moved out of an RV campsite, but I was actually surprised at just how little I used it because the side mirrors on the bus give you such a great view of not only what's to the side or over to the extended back area of the bus, but you're able to reference them when you're driving on the highway going forward to make sure when you turn, you're in the clear, as well as when you change lanes.
A lot of people have asked us if we thought we did too much demolition on the bus. And for us, no, I don't think we did. That doesn't mean that I think everybody should do as much demolition as we did. I think it really depends on what you're going to use your bus for. Are you converting it just for weekend getaways, or are you converting it to live in it full time? How old is your bus? How much rust can you see on the outside? Because if you can see rust on the outside, there's for sure going to be rust on the inside, and you don't know what's under those floors until you pull it up. But maybe for you, the best thing is to keep those floors in and just build on top of them. Another consideration might be how much time do you have. Maybe you don't want to do as much demolition. So for us, we chose to do a full demolition, tear out everything that we could possibly tear out and repair.
The MCI bus was the right choice for us after all our research, but that doesn't mean it's the right bus for you.
We are not experts, but hope that this video and sharing our process can help you get started on your search for your dream bus.